I wanted to implicate, as you said. I start to talk?
Please, yes.
Okay. So what was the aim of my presentation was to try to connect what I think it's the major relation between digital culture, or what I term digital mode of production, and financial capitalism. Why? Because we are in what is called financial capitalism. This process of financialization is really connected with calculation, calculation also as biopolitics. That means administering life, having to frame the way of so to call how people live, reproduce and produce on one side, and I try to think about this digital mode of production as something that is not just an aesthetical pattern, but actually a social programming coming near precisely to this, or if, as I term, both financial capitalism and the digital mode of production are working hand in hand. They are owning each other in terms that they are not just mirroring, but they are working each other for each other. And for me, it was important to understand that this process is not just a process about aesthetics or about representation, but is a process that actually it's connected with a new division of labor that is dividing first and second and third world. That means it's actually hiding these processes of exploitation, expropriation that are at the base of the pharma of globalization, but it's not global, it's only the way how capital transcend, but what is local is actually the processes of exploitation, and through digital culture they are actually hidden, and they are not made as such because it's this digitalization is connected with the cultural industry and the whole process of branding, the whole process of so to call transforming social relations into just an aesthetical mode, hype, trend, and brand.
In the discussion, in the end, you were putting an emphasis on the relevance of critical voices in artistic practice. And I think you call it a slap on the...
Oh, slap on the face to wake up. This was why I said, because these processes of digitalization, this being slaves of this whole process of branding, that is really very much connected with the computer, with the whole perception of culture that was transformed through computer technology. Practically, in one way, it's not giving the possibility to think about, is not giving the possibility to think about what actually means, you know, about what kind of life we are talking. Because in the first capitalist world is a certain idea of being a brand and having a possibility to have a good life, any kind, you can choose. But actually outside of this first capitalist world, you have actually a process that is called necropolitics. That means whole territories through the division of labor, whole so to call people are made not only to live in misery, but actually death, like in terms of not having to eat, misery is the major regulator. So my point was that because of this discrepancy, in one way, in first capitalist world is no any kind of thinking about these other processes. So it's the time to start if it's not too late, because this process is to be brand means also branding any kind of resistance. The resistance is just a kind of a hype. It's just so to call a process of declaration, but it has no really context to really try to understand what's going on and to change something. So I said maybe it's necessary to give a slap in order to at least awake and to try to connect this situation, because everything is connected. but is seen or obsolete, or is seen that it's an equal regime for the whole world. That this is what is done with globality.
Okay, and that would also be the role of the artist, I assume, that the artist...
It will be the role of the artist, but the artists are in one way too less. It will be the role of the subjects, and especially of the political subjects. And these are actually, day by day, you have less political subjects. That means you have less day by day people who are not just brands, but are capable to think about technology, about the life as a social relation, but also as a relation that actually is not out of the capitalist mode. That means it's not just some kind of a pose, but is part of the whole process of exploitation. So it's time really to do something if it's not too late.